The Holy Gospel according to Luke. I've come to start a fire on this earth. How I wish it were blazing right now. I've come to change everything, turn everything right side up. How I long for it to be finished. Do you think I came to smooth things over and make everything nice? Not so. I've come to disrupt and confront. From now on, when you find 5 in a house, it will be 3 against 2, 2 against 3. Father against son, son against father. Mother against daughter, and daughter against mother. Mother-in-law against bride, and bride against mother-in-law. Then Jesus turned to the crowd. When you see clouds coming in from the west, you say, storm's coming, and you're right. And when the wind comes out of the south, you say, this will be a hot one, and you're right. Frauds. You know how to tell a change in the weather. So don't tell me you can't tell a change in the season. The God season we're in right now. The gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, O Christ.
Please be seated. Billy Joel has a wonderful song entitled, "We Didn't Start the Fire." And he's right. We didn't start the fire. It's forever been burning. It's been burning since the Old Testament, and it burns still to today. What's our fire right now? For your pastor, the fire is in our broken immigration system. Last Sunday afternoon, I came home from being at church-wide assembly for my Lutheran side of life. I was elected from the Nebraska Synod to be a part of that. And our Bishop Mosshead wrote us an email that said, I want you to know that there will be a walk to the ICE Center there in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. We want you to participate as you feel you can with our blessings of the church. And I did. And after I got that email from Bishop, I was scared. We were in the midst of a shooting in Walmart at El Paso and Dayton, and so many other shootings that have not made the news. All because their skin isn't as white and pink as mine is. And so I was frightened, and I prayed, Lord, I'm not sure what to do. I know where my heart is. And it is for the families that are being torn apart by a broken system. And that Wednesday, as we were finishing up the business of the church that morning, I heard it. And I heard the Spirit say, Martha Sue, you go. Because you know if you don't go, you will be sad. And you will always live with the, I wish I would have done it. And so I did. But before I did that, I was greeted the night before by one of my fellow colleagues in Wyoming. And Josh and I talked over this walk to the ICE Center. And he said, Martha, I'm going to walk, but I'm going to have to stay in the back. And I am going to have to stay in the midst of a big crowd. Because I fear if my congregation sees me taking part of this, I may not come home to a job. I too feared that. And I feared it even more when I knew what today would bring. That I would bring you this message, that we hear from our Lord, that we are to care for the others. The walk that we were a part of is PARO, and it stands for Accompanying Migrant Minors with Protection, Advocacy, Representation, and Opportunities. And I walked the streets of Milwaukee, gleefully holding my sign as high as my short little arms and short little legs are, as high as I could, so that the cars around us would see. And we saw them slow down and look at what we were carrying, because we had big banners and small banners and these fans, and we had men and women and children, and we had a starting amount of people at around 560, and by the time we got to the ICE building itself, we were in 700 or 800 people strong. We were followed by ACLU workers to make sure, one, that we were safe and that this was a peaceful walk. We were escorted through the streets by police officers, those who held back traffic for us, and those who just followed along on their motorcycles. And I will tell you, it was the most wondrous thing that I have ever done. And I was proud of myself for not fearing and taking a step out. I am a woman from Wyoming who, you don't see a whole lot of protests going on in Wyoming. Nor here in upper Nebraska too much either. But I did what I felt was right. Friday and Saturday, yesterday was Saturday, yeah, when I was at a Presbyterian meeting for my Presbyterian side of life, they presented an effort called Matthew 25 Churches. And during the churchwide assembly, the ELCA church adopted the policy of being a sanctuary church. These two items, these two convictions, will work hand in hand well with Faiths United. Neither one are sure what it's going to look like to be a sanctuary church faith and a Matthew 25 faith, which says, "What you have done to the least of these, you have done to me. What you have not done to the least of these, you did not do for me." We are called to care for the aliens, as we ourselves were aliens in a strange land when we were in Egypt. And the Lord saw fit that we crossed through into lands that were called home. One of the speakers at the walk had been speaking with some of the people in the detention centers, and if you didn't know it, Nebraska has 4 detention centers here. This speaker said that the man that he talked to said, "Why do people think we risk our lives to make it here?" Because it takes the average person 2 months to make it to the United States at a cost sometimes with their lives, and sometimes with selling everything that they could think of to sell to make passage here. Why do you think we want to do that? Leave everything we know, everything we have, to come to a country where we're not sure where we're going to be welcomed or not, but it looks a whole lot better than where we're coming from. If life was good where we are, we would not leave. It's just as if I asked all of you to get up right now with whatever you have on you and start walking. Start walking your way to Canada. How many of you have your passport on you right now? You will not be welcomed into Canada. Now what are you going to do? It is the same thing for these refugees, for these asylum seekers. They come seeking something better. We have a very broken system, and we are called to do justice for the aliens, for the immigrants, for the least of these. And as the weeks and months and years come and we begin to live into Matthew 25 and a sanctuary church body, we will figure it out together. And that is my hope here in our small part of Nebraska, that you will help us be these two things that God calls us to be. We will never break laws and hide anyone. That is not what we're called to do. But we are called to perhaps write letters to our representatives and to our senators and to other bodies that you feel your voice could be heard at, seeking improvement in this immigration mess. We cannot idly stand by as families are torn apart, as children are left behind and the adults are sent back to their countries where they await even worse conditions than when they left, because now they are considered failures and they are ostracized by their own families. This teeny tiny thing of immigration, we may never see it fixed in our lifetime, but it is up to us to try to start to make changes for all people. For all of us were once immigrants, at least somewhere in your family line you are. We are all God's children. It matters not where you worship. It matters not who you love or how you love or the color of your skin. We are all God's children, called to care for one and another. Bless you. I invite you to let that set in your mind in the days and weeks to come, bless you, as you hear your pastor look as I ask probably more from you than maybe you're willing to give. So, rattle that in your head for a while, my friends, because we are called to be Christ's disciples into the world. Amen.